All right, so we're continuing here in this mustalah hadith terminology. So, والمعضل الساقط منه اثنان وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. الأول الإسقاط للشيخ وأن ينقل عمن فوقه بعن وأن، والثاني لا يسقطه لكن يصف أوصافه بما به لا ينعرف. Let's take a look at the lines of poetry first. So he says, وما أتى. Uh, so he says, والمعضل الساقط الساقط منه اثنان وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. الأول 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 الإسقاط للشيخ وأن ينقل عمن فوقه بعن وأن، والثاني لا يسقطه لكن يصف أوصافه بما به لا ينعرف. وما أتى مدلسا نوعان. So this is the first line, then this is the second line, and then this is the third line. We have three lines here. Each line has two parts, a sadr and an ajuz, a chest and a rear. The first half of the first line covers a hadith that we're not talking about anymore. We finished it. Mu'dal. Wal-mu'dal, the exhausting hadith, is as-saqitu minhu ithnani. It's the one that two narrators are dropped from it in a row, at least two in a row. Okay, then he didn't say more. Then he went to talk about mudallas, and all of these lines are covering the mudallas. So the second part of the first line starts, وَمَا أَتَى مُدَلَّسًا نَوْعَانِ. And what came? What came as mudallas, rigged, manipulated, is naw'ani, two kinds or two types. Al-awwal al-isqatu li-shaykh, the first, al-awwal. Al-awwal, the first, is al-isqat, is dropping out, yani making someone drop, isqat, making someone drop. Dropping li-shaykh, dropping the shaykh, skipping him in the chain, leaving him out of the chain altogether. Wa'an, and two. So the first is dropping the shaykh, and two, yankula, and to transmit. Yankula amman fawqahu, from who? Transmit from who is fawqahu, over him, meaning before him. Bi'an, by saying from. وَأَن, or by saying that, that he said. So, وَمَا أَتَى مُدَلَّسًا نَوْعَانِ, what came as rigged or manipulated in its chain is two kinds. Al-awwal, the first of those two is al-isqatu li-shaykh, is dropping out the shaykh, skipping him altogether in the chain. Wa'an, and two, yani, what do you do? How do you drop him out? Yankula amman fawqahu, then to narrate from whoever's over him, yani the one he narrated from, to bypass him in the chain, to go skip him in the chain to the one before him. Bi'an, by saying from so and so, it is from him, but not directly, you're skipping someone. Wa'an, or to say that so and so said, he did say it, but he didn't tell you that directly, you're skipping someone. Uh, so, two important things to remember for this first case. One, the the manipulator, the one who's rigging the chain, manipulating the chain, he's called mudallis. The mudallis met the one he's narrating from. That's important case here. It's not in the text, but this is part of the definition to make it Tadlees. In this case, this first case of Tadlees, the rigger, the manipulator, he met the one he's narrating from. What we're saying is, there's a hadith. This hadith is from Fulan. From Fulan two. From Fulan three. From Fulan four, etc. until the end of the hadith. So here's the trickster, the mudallis. This trickster, who he heard from? This trickster heard from this Fulan, Fulan 1. And he actually met Fulan 2. So he met both of them. He met Fulan 1 and he met Fulan 2. In order for this to be the case of Tadlis, we are discussing this is part of its conditions. So the scenario is that you have someone. He heard a hadith from someone who heard the hadith from someone, and that second someone, the trickster, met him too. He met both of them. This trickster, he met Fulan 1 and he met Fulan 2. But he heard the hadith he's reporting to you only from Fulan 1. And when he reports it to you, what's he saying to you? He is saying to you, yeah, he's basically skipping this. From Fulan, this first one, he's skipping it. So he's saying, from Fulan. Is it from Fulan in reality? Yes. And not just that, did he even meet this Fulan? Yes. So what does it look like then? He's narrating from someone he met. What does it look like? It looks like he's giving you a connected chain. And really, he's not. He is on purpose dropping out someone from the chain and forwarding the report to the one that one heard from without letting you know. So you're going to be mindful of this kind of report because someone's going to use it on you. Even scholars have done it, even on purpose. So what do you think someone's going to do? He's going to tell you, oh yeah, I have Fulan said. So you're going to say, you heard that from him? Now, That brings me to the second important detail about this case. Number two, the mudallis, the trickster, is not a liar. He is not a liar. Very important. Although he is dropping someone from the chain, what he's saying to you is not a lie. He's saying to you from Fulan too, for example. And he met Fulan too. And let's say you know that. You know he met Fulan too. So when he tells you, this hadith is from Fulan too, then you might think he's telling you he heard it from him. But if you learned hadith science, then you'll have more awareness. And you might say, that's from Fulan too? They'll say, yes, for sure. You say to him, you heard it from him? You heard it from Fulan too? Ah, now, if he's not a liar, how is he going to answer your question? He's going to say to you, no, I didn't hear from him. I heard it from Fulan 1. Ah, so why did he tell you? Because he's not a liar. Why he skipped him in the first place then? For something, for in his own mind. For something in his own mind, like he says, or he believes, for example, that Fulan 1 is a weak narrator, at least to you. He wants to tell you something that he took from Fulan 1, but for you, Fulan 1 is a weak narrator. He doesn't want your criticism of his chain. So he skips Fulan 1 when he tells you. And he just says to you from Fulan 2. And now, if you just trust him and you don't think twice, then you're going to think that he heard directly from him. Uh, but if you're on your toes, then when he says to you from Fulan 2, and you notice that his statement is not explicit in telling you he heard from him, then you might check. You heard it? You heard it from Fulan too? Because that's the part he's skipping. He didn't say, I heard, because he's not a liar. So he's not going to say that. He just says, from Fulan too. So you say to him, you heard it from Fulan too? So since he's not a liar, then he's going to say, no, I didn't hear it from him. Okay. What's a lie? Kadhib. A lie is to say contrary to reality while knowing reality. And he didn't do that here. And a lie is not by summarizing, what some people call lie by omission. It's not a lie. That's what Kafir will say. They call it a lie by omission when you don't say some detail. It's not a lie. As long as everything you said is factually true, it's not a lie. Now, if you put your words together in such a way that it leaves someone with a false impression, that doesn't mean you lied to him. I'm not encouraging that behavior. I'm just telling you. Saying something that is factually true but leaves someone with a false impression is not a lie. Hmm. As for if he didn't hear from directly from Fulan too, and then he said, I heard it from Fulan too, then he's a liar. There's some people, if you ask them who you heard from, they will never tell you. Never. I say to you, what does it matter? One person told me something. No need to repeat what he said here now. So I told him, well, yani, he told me something that, um, yeah, I'll tell you what he said. He said he witnessed the sunset while talking to someone in another part of the world witnessing the sunrise. That's what he told me. He said, at the moment of sunset, I was seeing the sunset and I was on the phone at the same time as someone who was on the other part of the world seeing the sunrise. That's what he told me. And I believed that he was lying to me and that he was only saying that because I cornered him in the debate we were having about the Qibla. So I asked him, who? So they said, oh, what does it matter? You don't know who they are. So yeah, he never told me. You know me, I'm not going to get off of there. Once I asked him, who was that? He'll never tell me. And I'm not going to move forward from here. He said, you don't know him. Okay, that's fine. You're going to put me in contact with him. No. So then, no, I wouldn't trust him. There's another person says he learns from the association. Talks about blasphemy too much. So he's saying something. I said to him, he said, I learned from the sheikhs. He told me that before. I didn't challenge him. He wanted to talk to me a second time. So now I'm going to challenge him. He said, I learned from the sheikhs. I told him, who told you that? He said, well, it doesn't matter. I don't get my information from anyone but the sheikhs. So I told him, who told you that? Yeah, he will not tell me. Told me it doesn't matter who it was. So, okay. That's not how it goes, though. What did Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak say? لولا الإسناد لقال من شاء ما شاء. Had it not been for the chain, anyone who wanted to say something would say whatever he wanted to say. Very simple. As for though, when you say to him, man qal, who said so? Yaskut, then he will go silent. That's the completion of Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak's statement. He said, it was reported that he said, whoever, if had it not been for the chain of narration, whoever wanted to say something would have said whatever he wanted to say. But when you ask him, who said so? Then he will go silent. So, why are we talking about all of that right now? Because I was explaining to you who this Mudallis is. What's his case? This rigger, this manipulator, this trickster. What's his case? His case is that he is not a liar. Ah, so, but does that mean that the scholars rely on him though? Since he's not a liar, do they trust him? Only when he explicitly states that he heard. If they know him to be a trickster in his narration, if they discover that he is a trickster in his reporting, which means he's not a liar, then when they discover that he is a trickster in his reporting, then they will not accept from him unless he explicitly says that he heard. Then they will accept from him because he's not a liar. Okay. So that's the first one. Al-awwal al-isqatu li-shaykhi. The first type of tadlees, manipulation of the chain, is dropping out the sheikh. Sheikh here means the one who reported to you. If you are the one dropping someone out of the chain, you're dropping out your sheikh means the one who reported to you. وَأَنْ يَنْقُلَ عَمَّنْ فَوْقَهُ بِعَنْ وَأَنْ. And then to narrate directly from the one over him, meaning the one before him. And the detail that's not in the line of poetry here is that one you met him too. You trickster who is manipulating the chain, you did meet the one you're reporting from, but you didn't hear from him what you are reporting. So give someone the impression that you are reporting something that you heard directly from someone. Upon investigation, would be discovered that it's not the case. Okay, we covered all of that last time. Wathani, and the second kind of tadlees, manipulating the chain, is la yusqituhu. He does not drop out the sheikh, the one who narrated to him. Lakin, so la yusqituhu, he does not drop him. Wathani, the second, is that la yusqituhu, he does not drop him out of the chain. Lakin, however, or but, yasif, he describes. Awsafahu, his descriptions. He describes his descriptions. Whose descriptions? The one that he's not dropping out. He's not dropping him out of the chain. He's just basically describing him in a way that you wouldn't recognize him. You don't recognize the one he's talking about by the way he's being described to you. Lakin yasif awsafahu. However, what he does do is he describes his descriptions bima bihi, by that which bima bihi, by that which la yan'arif, he's not known. Yani by other than his famous identity. He describes him with other than his famous identity. That's where we are now. Do you have any question before I go to the text? So we are here. He says, the author says, as explained by Sheikh Al-Jabarti, rahimahullah, وَالثَّانِي بِحَذْفِ الْيَاء. So I made a mistake. وَالثَّانِي, with omitting the ya. I wrote it with the ya. I wrote وَالثَّانِي. So without the ya. وَالثَّانِي وَهُوَ جَائِز. And this second case is permissible, meaning the one who does it does not fall into a sin. Or not that, but the omission of the ya is valid. بحذف الياء وهو جائز أي من نوعي تدليس, meaning from the two types of tadlis. The second one is وهو تدليس الشيوخ, which is the trickery concerning the sheikhs, the narrators. The first one is tadlisul isnad, the trickery in the chain. The second one is the trickery in the sheikhs by identifying them in an unrecognizable way. La yusqituhu, he doesn't drop him. A shaykhahu alladhi rawa anhu, he doesn't drop his sheikh, yani his informer, the one who taught him the report. Bal yadhkuruhu, rather he does mention him. Lakin, however, yasif awsafahu a shaykhi, he describes his descriptions. Yani, he identifies him bima bihi la yan'arif, by that which he is not known. Yani, he describes him with an unknown identity. A bima lam yashtahir bihi, meaning an identity for which he is not famous. وَقَوْلُ النَّاظِمِ, and when the composer said, لَا يَنْعَرِفْ, he, he's not known. لا يعرف لغة. This is not known in the Arabic language. Yani he's saying you don't say in عرف. In عرف ينعرف. In عرف. You don't say this in Arabic. He said لا ينعرف. So what he did was he broke some standard rules of sarf to achieve his line of poetry. Doing that can degrade the quality of the poem. Now I'm not strong in balagha so that I can tell you what how قد يقال how much damage such a maneuver does to the line. When I say damage, I'm basically saying the way I would word that is how corny does it make his line of poetry? Like that's how we might say it concerning some poetry. If it's really good, if a line of poetry is masterful and clever and uh, nicely worded, etc., then you might say it's decent. That's a decent line of poetry or decent poem. And if it's less than that, you might say, yani, in my language, you might say it's corny. That's also informal language. Corny. So I'm not saying his line is completely corny, but when the poet diverges from standard rules, he breaks some standard rules for the sake of his poetry. It could be decent, but it could be corny. There's a range that I'm not equipped to talk about. But I learned it when I learned what I did learn of balagha, that there's a range there. Not just poetry, in poetry or out of poetry. The speaker, he might say, this is an Arabic language standard, he might say something and he breaks some standard rules. The poet has more leeway to break some standard rules because he has to keep the beat. So his having to keep the beat, he basically gives him a license, what we would call a poetic license, what the Arabs call the emergency of poetry, daruratu shi'r, the emergency of poetry, or the urgency of poetry. He has to keep the beat. Still, though, what lengths he has to take to keep the beat, some of it is corny and some of it is decent. There is a range. So if you know someone who's strong in balagha, if you want, for example, ask Dr. Wafi, say, you know that Sheikh, Dr. Allah yarhamukum. May I ask you a question, please? Thank you, Barakallahu feek. Do you know this line in Al-Bayquniyah? والثاني لا يسقطه لكن يصف أوصافه بما به لا ينعرف. They said, the explainers of Al-Bayquniyah said, لا ينعرف لا يعرف في اللغة. It's not known in Arabic. What is the case? Is this Radi? Is this what's the opposite of Radi? Fasih? Is this fasih? Is this radi? What's the case of the way he worded that? Then maybe someone with knowledge will tell us good, clear status of this wording here. Sheikh Al-Jabarti said, "Walau qal," had he said, instead of the way he said it, had he said it this way, and Az-Zurqani said the same thing. وَالثَّانِي لَا يُسْقِطُهُ بَلْ يَصِفُ أوصافه بما به لا يعرف. Had he said it this way, لكان صوابا, which means the second is that he doesn't drop him. Rather, he describes his descriptions by that which he is unknown. So it has same meaning. It's just adjusted in such a way that there is no criticism. Yani stronger now. It's more decent, less corny. وذلك بأن يصفه بغير ما اشتهر به. And I just want to reiterate, I'm using word decent and corny in this context, this poetic context here. I'm not talking about any religious judgments he is giving here. I'm just talking about his poetry. And I'm using these words because I'm translating, and these are some of the words that we might use to talk about something like this. Some lines of poetry. How good are they? How strong are they, or weak are they? وَذَلِكَ بِأَنْ يَصِفَهُ بِغَيْرِ مَا اشْتُهِرَ بِهِ. So this would be by describing that one with other than how he's famous. من اسم أو كنية أو لقب أو نسبة أو قبيلة أو بلدة أو صنعة أو نحو ذلك. Whether that's a moniker, that means a name, or a kunya, that's being named after the child, Abu such and such, such and such, or a nickname, or some attribution like Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanafi, attributing him to something, some attribution, or another attribution, yani nisbah of some sort, or a tribe or a town or a profession or the likes of that. And why is he doing that though? Ta'miyatan, to hide something. Kayla yoraf, so that he wouldn't be known. كقول ابن مجاهد أحد القراء, like what Ibn Mujahid said, and he's one of the reciters. حدثنا عبد الله بن أبي عبد الله. He said, Abdullah ibn Abdullah ibn Abi Abdullah told us. So Abdullah, the son of the father of Abdullah. Abdullah, the son of the father of Abdullah. So who's Abdullah's father? His father, Abuhu. So Abdullah is someone. Ibn, the son of Abi Abdullah, as if he said, the son of his father. So he named him in a way that's not obvious who he really is. Yuridu, and who he means, who does he mean? Abdullah ibn Abi Dawood. He means a man named Abdullah, the son of Abu Dawood. Who's that Abu Dawood? Sahib Sunan, the famous one, the one who authored one of the 6 books, As-Sijistani, the one from Sijistan. Wallahu alam, and Allah knows best. Any question?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Naam, Habib, I did have a question.
Yeah.
I relate to someone something, yani, I have to be mindful of these rules when I'm relaying it to them as well. So I would say, I heard it from such and such, so that I wouldn't be considered a trick or something of the like.
If you are skipping someone in the chain, doesn't mean you are trying to trick someone.
Okay.
It's possible to skip someone in the chain without it being a case of trickery.
Okay.
Could be that you are just summarizing.
Yeah, usually that's the case, and that's the reason why I was asking. Because I'm like, I normally just tell them, look, I heard it directly from this person, and then there is the chain, but I just don't know the chain. SubhanAllah.
And then that's not even the case we're talking about also, because we're talking about skipping the one you heard from directly.
So
The case of Tadlees, trickery, is the case of someone who is deliberately skipping the one you heard from,
yes, yes.
or identifying him in an unrecognizable way.
Mm.
But don't forget, there's the case of ta'liq, the hadith al-mu'allaq. Anyone remember what's a hadith mu'allaq? May Allah answer the dua of the one who answers this question. What is the hadith mu'allaq? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mu'allaq hadith is when an author deliberately omits all or some of the chain from his side. Some or all of the chain from his side. That's not a case of tadlis. So you've seen, for example, the 40 hadiths of An-Nawawi. Okay. An-Nawawi doesn't tell you the whole chain from himself back to the Prophet ﷺ, which he's capable of doing. Rather, what An-Nawawi will do, he will just tell you. For example, Al-Bukhari narrated from the route of such and such companion that the Prophet ﷺ said, or he might say, Al-Bukhari, and Bukhari is only an example. It could say someone else. Al-Bukhari narrated from Fulan, the successor, the Tabi'i, from Fulan, the companion that the Prophet ﷺ said. So when An-Nawawi does that, what is he doing? He's skipping his whole chain back to Al-Bukhari in the first place. Then skipping the chain more from Bukhari back to that successor if he named one. Or even skipping that successor and going all the way back to the companion, for example. This is not tadlis. This is not trickery. Inshallah, that's clear.
No.
Mhm.
And would this be just summarizing?
It is, well, the word that I know the scholars use is omitting.
Okay.
He is literally omitting whoever he heard from. When he says Al-Bukhari narrated or Muslim narrated, there's centuries between him and Al-Bukhari.
Yeah.
And then from Bukhari to narrate, to mention only the companion, if he mentioned the companion even, what if he just said Al-Bukhari narrated that the Prophet said? Then he would even be skipping the companion. That's valid. There's no problem here. And that's how our most of what we hear in all our lessons is. If we are taking a lesson about any topic and then we say the Prophet ﷺ said, where's the chain? He said, because we know he is not doing that deliberately. He is doing that deliberately, but he's not having the same scenario as the trickster. The trickster's scenario is different because the trickster is that he is skipping the one he heard from to mention the one that that one heard from while he actually met that one too. So it's a specific scenario. And it is a case, the Tadlees is a case of obscure disconnection. Obscure disconnection. Sometimes the breakage in the chain is obvious, and sometimes it's obscure. Obvious is like when Malik said uh, in Al Muwatta that it reached him, such and such reached him from Abu Hurairah. Such and such reached him from Abu Hurairah. So we know Malik didn't meet Abu Hurairah. So that's an obvious breakage in the chain. Even you don't have to be a scholar of hadith to know that there's a breakage in the chain here. That's how obvious it is. The obscure breakage in the chain requires an expert to discover it. Thus, you have this case. Some person is skipping the one he heard from to mention the one that that one heard from while he met that one he's mentioning. The expert will discover this breakage. آمين وإياكم.